Good evening. Alrighty. So I just want to set a couple things up here. Alrighty. Let me just check the feedback here. All right. Good evening. So, first time DM here. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. We're a new channel about basically taking people through my experience being a first-time dungeon master running an in-person campaign with 6 players right now through a heavily modified version of Tyranny of Dragons. What I like to do on the channel is basically go through my prep and what I keep and what I change and why and the thought process behind it, and the player's reaction, how were things as far as planning them versus executing them versus what I wanted to happen, what I was hoping for things to happen, what actually happened, how we pivot, and all those sorts of things. So currently, as you can see, this guy is much later in the campaign, so I'm going to get rid of him. A friend of mine 3D printed him, and he's very brittle. These guys I printed myself. These are goblins. I'm in right now in Tyranny of Dragons. I'm in chapter 4, and there are no goblins in chapter 4. But I am creating a moment in the campaign, and again, there will be spoilers for any potential players of Tyranny of Dragons. So I absolutely recommend people who would be on the player end of Tyranny of Dragons, which is the first campaign more or less released by Wizards of the Coast when D&D 5e was released in 2014. And I like the campaign because it takes you all over the Sword Coast and the Forgotten Realms, Faerun, any of these places you might have heard of, which is in the last, certainly for 5e, been the main, the central setting for D&D. So I'm doing it in the Forgotten Realms, and and I like the fact that it's going all over the place. It's a bit of a railroady campaign, but again, that's why you do things like this, to give people a little bit of branch off. So the players are just now hooking up in a caravan. And again, if you're one of my players, do not watch this. My players are hooking up in a caravan of wagons to basically spy on the cult of the dragon as they mysteriously are transporting stolen loot that they've been pretending to be bandits over. And why is the cult up to this business of creating a huge hoard of gold and transporting it north up from Baldur's Gate to and beyond Waterdeep, if you know your Faerunian geography. So while they're in the Troll Claw Hills, the caravan, they are going to encounter trolls. I love to keep them guessing. Like, what type of creature are we going to see in the Troll Claws? Trolls. I would have never guessed that. But they just, as of last week, they just leveled up to level 5. And this is still, because I'm actually going to throw 3 trolls at them. But I wanted to give them some false... I wanted a little trickery in the encounter. Last week we had a very and somewhat unplanned encounter with some jackal wares that were in a human form, and they just rolled right over those jackal wares. And I had planned an encounter with the jackal wares, but it was sort of come back to our lair type of thing, and then we'll ambush you. And the players did not want to do that. They said, we don't want to go with you. They didn't know they were jackal wares, but they were like gangster, type jackal wares, smarmy. They were trying to shake down the party. And the party didn't feel they were at 4th level at this point, but they were feeling powerful enough where they were not going to be shook down, if that's a word, by those guys. And they just there was some backstory stuff that was it was a triggering event, because they're generally not murder hobos, but they went all murder hobo on these guys, and just killed them in the middle of the street. And it was fun, and it was a very quick sort of encounter, and the players felt very powerful. And the Jackalware encounter, again, was of my creation, was not in the written campaign, but it was in Baldur's Gate, and they had figured out which wagons each one of the players was going to be hooked up with, and we were basically ready to go, but it had been a very talky sort of session, and I wanted to give the players a option to, do some fisticuffs. And, they ended up wanting to do that, but they wanted to do it in their own way, and they rolled over it, and that was fine. It was actually a quick combat, because we have 6 players in the game. And sometimes with that many players, combat can be a bit of a slog. And so it was sort of refreshing. But this combat that I'm working on here might, and that's sort of why I wanted to throw in the goblins sort of at the last minute, because usually I don't always use minis, but when I do, a lot of times I've been planning out the campaign for quite a while, and so I wouldn't be necessarily painting them the week that the interaction is going to happen. But again, I'm like, I wanted to lull them into thinking, oh, goblins. We haven't faced goblins before. Of course, everybody pretty much knows that goblins are low-level enemies. And so the players, having rolled over the combat last week, perhaps will have the same feeling this week. That they're like, yeah, we'll go kill those goblins. But of course, once the goblins get all massacred, the trolls will be released. And it'll be a much harder encounter than they expect, which will be fun. And I'm also doing a time component to it. So they will have, basically, they have to stay alive for an hour, a real world hour, because that's how long it will take for the broken down wagon to be repaired that is blocking the last bit of the convoy. That will there's going to be like a chasm and a bridge, and then the one carriage will break down right at the bridge, blocking the bridge. It will take so that carriage, which has the Cult of the Dragon leaders in it, and then the three last wagons are the ones that the players have tapped into, and they will have one real world hour to stay alive before they could escape across the bridge with the repaired wagon. And, if they do certain activities to be I might give them some time benefits. And I'm actually going to be using an actual hourglass that runs the hour. And if they do some, notable things, inspiration-worthy type of things, then I'll basically like, okay, you get 2 minutes added onto the clock, which I'll put the hourglass on its side for 2 minutes and then resume. So, again, I don't. I'm hoping that the time element is more a psychological, like, oh no, type of thing at the beginning, more than an actual thing. I'm hoping it's plenty of time for them to that they'll be able to stay alive with goblins and 3 trolls and perhaps an intellect devourer. And you're like, intellect devourer? What? You're in the Troll Claw Hills? I think Troll Claw Hills or Troll Hills. I don't know, something like that. Right north of Baldur's Gate on the main road there. So just screwed up his face a little bit. That is not good. I could fix it though. Happy accidents, right? Let me just lean into it a little bit. Right? Sometimes you got to lean into your mistakes. And yeah, so anyway, this troll, the goblin thing was sort of a last minute ad that I'm like, okay, just we'll add some, like, oh yeah, we're going to roll over this combat encounter, and then they're going to see that this is definitely going to be the most difficult, challenging combat scenario that they've played so far in Tyranny of Dragons. So I'm generally not a combat-oriented DM so far. That's not really, I like the story aspect, the RP aspect, more than the combat mechanics stuff. But, it's part of the game. And sometimes when I'm not a super rule, I'm not a rules lawyer, right? we have a rules lawyer, and he's good at doing that. That's not me. Although, I try, I work to know the rules as best I can. And, sometimes you got to look at the book, but if the rules lawyer hasn't, studied that particular thing, and it's fine. So his face is a little weird here. I'm not sure I like what I'm doing with the legs there. Like this knee is too much, but that'll be toned down in a bit. There you go. So what I'm just trying to do here, this is just a little dry brushing. I put snake bite leather here, and then I think like the orc flesh green. I'm just dry brushing it again just to bring out some of those highlights in the goblin minis. And again, goblin minis or goblins really, not some encounters, combat encounters, have minis and some don't. Just because you're using minis doesn't mean you have to always use minis. I see minis when you have like a map or there's some sort of tactical reason, right? Where you're like, okay, well, I want to make the players move around and position themselves, and therefore it makes sense to have minis and a map and a play set, blah, blah, blah. This is not going well. I might use a different brush. Let's try this one. Maybe I'll come back to him. But again, this one is sort of, I hope it to be a showpiece because I have some terrain hills that I have made. I have the trolls themselves, which I didn't print those. That's before I got my 3D printer. But I painted them, and they look awesome, in my opinion. And hills, I might throw a few trees in that I recently made. And there we go. And that's it. And then so, and I have the wagons. I made 4 wagons. I made 3 wagons that are affiliated with the player characters. And 1 wagon that will be symbolize the Cult of the Dragon wagons because they have 5. Yes, I'm on here. What's up? No one's watching. It doesn't matter. What? I don't know. I got to get these goblins done. Do my... Oh, okay. Just give me like 10 minutes. Sure. Nobody watching? Probably not. I'm one. I got me. I'm watching me. You should do that on like Instagram. Well, I have to have 1,000 followers before I could do this live on Instagram. Maybe not. Who knows? Not 1,000. And I'm on YouTube and I'm on Twitch because for some reason I got banned on TikTok. Why? I don't know. I think it was like I maybe was trying to log in too many times or something like that. They're like, you could try back in 14 days or something. So I'm trying to be as many places as I can, but I'm not very entertaining right now, so I'm practicing. So, but every time I stop, then it creates a new file. So I should have taken care. So there's something to learn, right? Take care of myself before I start at night, right? So I can leave you. You want to see my goblins? You don't care. That's fine. What do you think? I got. You know what? I got a. Did I turn it on? Look. See. Well, watch the screen. Because I was doing this and my face would go out of screen, right? Because it's just a little thing. So I'm like, I'm like, it was just a little bit more to get the AI enhanced camera. Oh, oh, it's programmed to search for human faces, not cat faces. All right, give me 10 minutes. Thank you. That was my daughter. Oh my God. See, I can't. I got to stay. I marked myself where I'm supposed to stay here. Sorry if I'm painting and not having it in an ideal spot. This is so why am I streaming? And again, I'm learning, right? We're level 5. I had, before we started this campaign, I had dungeon mastered one shots for the group. Oh wait, oh my God. Sorry. I had dungeon mastered some one shots, and I thought they went pretty good. I wanted to do more. And so my group, we play every Friday at a local place here in Florida, a little bar in a little back room. And we sort of rotate DMs, when someone gets burned out, then somebody else will start a campaign. And we had just finished Beyond the Witchlight, or Wild Beyond the Witchlight, or whatever the hell. We'd done that one. Again, was modified by our DM, who was also a new DM. And we went all the way. We went from 3 to 20 in that one. And so anyway, so when my time came, I'm like, hey, I want to give it a try. And so that's what we're doing. And I love it. It's so much fun. And I get joy out of, contributing to someone having a fun time, playing. I wasted a lot of paint right there. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Oh, this pot is sort of drying up. So what are you going to do? I usually use a rag, a microfiber rag for this, but I don't have one right now, and I don't want to get up and get it. So I'm doing this, which is less good, which is leading to a little bit of my inconsistency here with it. But that's fun too. I am definitely the, what's his name? Happy little tree guy. Let's just do it. I want each one of these goblins, because I actually noticed with using painted minis, if you don't want them to all look the same, you don't want to say, yeah, the goblin with the 2 scimitars, because depending on where you're sitting, depending your angle, all those sorts of things, maybe you can see the scimitars, maybe you can, or maybe you're confused as to what are scimitars and what are long swords, or whatever it is. And so I'm sort of batching these guys, but in the end of the day, I'm going to throw some unique stuff and unique colors on them. Probably make their hats, a hue of some sort of, naturally dyed animal leather. But give it like, the red hat guy, enough pigment so I could say the guy with the red hat, because again, these guys serve a function, right? I mean, there's to make everything sort of immersive, but also make play and combat more more understandable, right? A little bit less theater of the mind, maybe a little bit more tactical. I really like when I'm using bad guys, especially with the minis, to allow reactions when I pull away. So, like usually people don't want to do that because they get that extra hit. And I'm like, well, with the enemies, if the players aren't going to do it, I'm going to do it with the bad guys. You get some extra hits in as a player, which is fun, and then keeps the battlefield moving and alive instead of everybody just like taking their turn and swinging, which can get sort of boring for everybody. And again, if you're a DM and you're bored with the combat, well, then your players are going to be bored too, right? So mix it up. So, in my opinion, and so I try to keep. I learn something every session. Sometimes low level enemies that they could kill really easy is fun. Gets combat in there without combat taking over. And again, sometimes with 6 players, combat could take over the whole night. And so I think sometimes you want that, the players will want that, but not always. And I think everyone, we had some good backstory stuff last time. People really enjoy that too. So I think just knowing your players and what they're enjoying. And I think I have sort of an RP heavy group. And at least I think I do. And, tailor it to my style, right? Because you should, if as a dungeon master, you should be enjoying yourself too. But I like to tailor my style to the folks at the table, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And then, it's a collaborative storytelling experience. So again, they get to make decisions too. All right. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with the dry brushing. So now I'm going to pick a wash. I want it to be sort of light. I want their outfits basically to look like leather. I've used snakebite leather as the base brown. This is a shade, a Seraphim Sepia. Sorry for the glare there. All right, so and I'm sort of experimenting with the colors really. Again, I wasn't really planning on using these goblins. I actually had printed them. I had 3D printed them because I have an Etsy store, as you might see on the. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it looks good or not. I might need more, I think. Oh, I don't know. It's not bad, but I think I need something a little. I don't want it to overshadow the snake bite. I don't want to have to redo the major, but it's not hitting the highs like I want it to. Actually, well, I don't know. Let's commit to a full guy and see what we have to say here. Let's see. Because again, I'm trying to get these guys done, right? It's already Wednesday night. Okay. Oh my God, the cat! Don't do that to the couch, please. Thank you. We have a cat, as you saw. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that. This is one of my favorite browns. The contrast paint Garagax Sewer. Okay, this is SHIT brown. It's contrast, but it's a pretty thick contrast. So I want to be judicious here. But I think I could, where this is too light, just hit it with that. Yeah. Okay. So I could hit it with the shade to give it a little bit of a lighter look. And then I could come back with a Garagax, some deeper look. Let's see, because that's too much here, right? I think we all agree that's not a highlight of the mini. All right. Well, my daughter wants me to get out of her way. And I have to use the bathroom that's adjacent to her, so I don't want to make her mad. And so I'm probably going to wrap up here. I'm going to continue painting these guys, but I'm actually pretty happy with how this is coming, right? I think that actually works nice. I'm going to do basically the same with the green. Go back over the face a little bit, give some highlights, some lowlights. And clean it up. It looks a little messy. You know, sometimes for me, you got to find the color. On a new mini like this, and again, goblins are pretty simple, right? I mean, they're goblins. They're green. You know, these guys definitely have leather armor. But, you know, there you go. What do you think? He's coming along. And again, these guys are going to get mowed down. But they will. I'm hoping to kill at least one player. Just a little bit of death. But it's going to be complicated. The main thing is that the players are going to have to cooperate and help defend some of the cultists. And the cultists, if the players do this, would be appreciative that players save their lives, at least some of their lives. And then they will be more open to bringing them closer into the cult. Maybe the players will want to fake join and, and really do heavy undercover spy. So this will be the first sort of fisticuffs that the cultists will be, isolating themselves. They don't want to mix with the other riffraff in the rest of the caravan. But after this combat event, perhaps some of the cultists will be indebted to the players and will bring them into the fold. And maybe after a couple other missions that they might or might not do for the cult, maybe they will be fully ingratiated and then they will learn more about their plans. So that's the opportunity that the players will have, is to go deeper undercover and ingratiate themselves to this group of people that is very exclusionary and they're hauling gold. So that's the idea. Anyway, thank you for watching. If anyone has picked this up, and appreciate a like, a subscribe, comment, all those sorts of things. I'm trying to be nightly in the evenings, 8 p.m. ish, Eastern time, Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday. I play the game on Friday. And then, we'll be planning the campaign here. Some of the times it will be crafting and making things as we have here. Sometimes it will be working on story, characters, bad guys, homebrewing, all sorts of things. So crafty, but not always crafty. All things DMing, all things new DMing, trying things, learning things, making mistakes, and all those sorts of things. And instead of telling you I know everything and I'm the best DM and you should DM like me if you want, I'm mostly saying I'm just the guy doing this. I'm pretty well read on the rules, even if they haven't all been memorized. On the lore, I've been reading Forgotten Realms novels like mad for the last year and a half. So I'm pretty steeped in, and not that you have to be, but I just think it's fun to have that depth and to tie in strategic pieces of the Forgotten Realms that I think is interesting. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on anymore. Thank you so much for watching. If you got this far, please a like and any of those sorts of things would be very much appreciated. And I'm just going to continue to do this each night and hopefully build up a following and hopefully be of service. Okay. Good night. Oh, let's see. How do I